In this video, we're going to look at the uses of chlorine and the chlorate 1 ion. So just a reminder that chlorine is Cl2. The chlorate 1 ion is where the chlorine is in the oxidation state +1. So we've got a key definition here, and this key definition is disproportionation. And that is used to describe a redox reaction in which the same element is both oxidized and reduced. So what does that look like? Well, we've got chlorine here reacting with cold water, and we get a reversible reaction, so we get an equilibrium reached, and we form hydrochloric acid, and we form chloric 1 acid. And if you pause the video and write in the oxidation states of all of the chlorine containing species, you'll find chlorine starts at 0, and in hydrochloric acid the chlorine is -1, and in chloric 1 acid the chlorine is +1. So if we think about both the two products that contain chlorine separately, and we think about what has happened there in terms of oxidation and reduction, if we think about the chlorine going to chlorine, the hydrochloric acid, so we're going from 0 to -1, the oxidation state has become more negative, which means that this is reduction, or the chlorine has been reduced, because we've gone from 0 to -1 in its oxidation state, so it's gained electrons. And in the second example, when we're forming chloric 1 acid, the chlorine has been oxidized because we start at 0 oxidation state and we're going to +1, so we're losing electrons, we're becoming more positive. Okay, so what would we see in this reaction? Well, we already know that chlorine is a pale green solution. So we'd start with that. We'd form hydrochloric acid. And we wouldn't be able to see that because it would form a colourless solution. But if we dipped some blue litmus into that, the blue litmus would turn or turns red. We could also use universal indicator paper or solution, which would also turn red. And then the chloric 1 acid would turn blue litmus red, and then bleaches, because the chlorate ion in the chloric 1 acid bleaches the litmus paper. Okay, so the first reaction that we've got at the top of the page starts with chlorine reacting with cold water to form hydrochloric acid and chloric 1 acid. Now, in the presence of sunlight, the chloric 1 acid breaks down to form hydrochloric acid and oxygen. So, if you've come across the word intermediate, what happens is the chloric 1 acid is produced in step 1 with cold water, but then in sunlight it reacts or decomposes to form hydrochloric acid and oxygen. So we can say, if we combine steps 1 and 2 below, we can say that in sunlight chlorine reacts with water to form hydrochloric acid and oxygen.